Hey everybody, welcome to my kitchen. Actually, it's Cheryl's my kitchen, but today it's my kitchen. And sometimes you just have to put a little forest in your kitchen to make some fun things. So today we are going to play with kale. Now this is like a really simple, easy recipe. It's super fun to make and people love it. I started making kale chips a number of years ago when I got tired of buying little bags of kale for $5 at the health food store. And I looked at the kale for, for $1 I can buy like a lot of kale, and for a couple more dollars I can buy the ingredients. And so I experimented and came up with a recipe that we love. It's easy to make, it's fun. You know what I love about kale is you get to touch it. This whole recipe is tactile, it's fun, you get to play with your food. So you're going to wash your kale, and I just get the kind that's nice and curly. If it's a little limp, I will put it in a bowl of some water and just let it rehydrate. And so, the scientific method for getting your kale ready is just to break it off in reasonable size pieces. This has already been washed, by the way. And so I just tear it off. Some people like to cut it and do different things, but I actually enjoy touching and playing with my food when I'm cooking with it. So for this recipe, I have used 3 heads of kale. You can make whatever you want, but I've got 3 heads. If you don't have a salad spinner, these are great. I've got some in here ready to mix. So I've got my kale ready to go. And again, 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads. I like 3 heads because it just, if I'm going to do it, it fills up the dehydrator, makes everything great. So next thing we have to do is make a special sauce. So we've got to make, the traditional way of making kale chips is you just put some salt and oil on them, and then you put them in the oven and let them, in about 225, and let them dry out for an hour or so, and you're good to go. But I need to make kale that's special because I feel special about my kale. So I have a mixing bowl. I'm making a special sauce. So the base for my sauce is sunflower butter. Now, a more traditional method would be to use tahini, which is made from sesame seeds. I started playing with sunflower butter because it's a seed butter, not a nut butter. It's a seed butter. Actually, that's a nut butter too. But anyway, I love sunflower seeds. And tahini, for a lot of people, can be inflammatory. The sesame seeds can be inflammatory, so you can do either. So I've got about a half a cup of sunflower butter in this cup. And now we've got to begin to create our secret sauce. So for part of the savory flavor of this, apple cider vinegar. And here's the nice thing about this, you can just always have your spoons with you. So I'm going to start out with about, and again, you've got to flavor test this as you go. So we're going to do about 5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Seems to work well, but we're going to just start with 3 to see how it goes. And we need a little bit of water. So we'll just put about 3 tablespoons of water in here. And again, you're going to adjust this as you go. And we need lemon. So about a tablespoon of lemon. So again, lemon is really a strong flavor. So I'm going to start out with just 1 tablespoon instead of 2. And this then all has to be blended up. So our sunflower butter starts to just blend in. The lemon and the, we use apple cider vinegar, starts to break this up nicely. And we begin to make it into what I call sort of a loose salad dressing. Now, I like my kale chips to have a little bit of crunch to them. So in addition to the sunflower butter, I have put in my old coffee mill. My daughter did not like me doing this when this was the main coffee mill, but I put about 1/3 cup of sunflower seeds in here, raw, unroasted, just plain sunflower seeds. And the reason I love this is because, there we go. When you're doing this, you want to shake them up and hold the lid down because that's awkward when that happens. And so then I'll take these. That was kind of a mess. Okay, so this just goes into here, and it's going to provide a little texture for our dressing mix, and these will crunch up our kale chips very nicely as we're cooking. Again, the consistency is looking about right. We'll adjust that as we go. Probably could have ground the sunflower seeds up a little bit more there, Cheryl, if we're looking at this. And then I decided I like onion powder, so we're going to add about a teaspoon of onion powder to this. Onion powder is great. And it requires about a teaspoon of salt. You can always go less on the spices when you're getting started, and then you can add more if you need to. And then the secret sauce is I use a buttermilk ranch dressing base. Okay, I get this from Penzey's. You can also get it from the Spice House. The spicehouse.com has very similar spices, but I picked this one just because it's got a nice flavor for kale. So this is the Buttermilk Ranch dressing base from Penzey's. And we need about 3 teaspoons, which would be a tablespoon, I guess, right, Cheryl? And so we're going to do about 3 in here with this. And it's a savory. Now we need to add the sweet side to it. So our current favorite sweetener is monk. What do we call it? Monk fruit sweetener. So monk fruit sweetener. And I'm going to add, we'll start out with 3 tablespoons. And I'll put the recipe below for you guys on this so you can see it. And again, but you want to play with this and get it so that you like it. Now, as I start to mix this, I'm noticing that it's way too thick. So we are going to add another batch of apple cider vinegar, probably another tablespoon or 2. And we're going to add a little bit more water. And that was too much. But it's okay because it's going to go in the dehydrator and it's all going to work its way out in the end. So we just have to make ourselves a nice sauce. And again, it's just fun to play with your food, to experiment, to create. And you can see this is a little watery, but again, it won't be a problem if the flavor's right because we're going to dehydrate it when we're all said and done. Okay, now, we're not going to double dip. I'm going to just use this spoon once. So, okay, I thought a little tart. So, I'm going to add another 2 tablespoons of monk fruit sweetener to this. Then we're going to go get a different spoon. Cheryl gets after me about this all the time. I can't use the same spoon twice. And so, okay. That was a little strong, but that's okay because when you put a little forest fire in your kitchen, sometimes it gets a little hot. That tastes just about right. Okay, so we've got a nice salad dressing consistency, and we've actually got, I'm going to put just a smidge more lemon into it. Now comes the fun part. Make sure you've cleaned your hands before you do this. I don't remember if I cleaned my hands before we start, Cheryl, but I think we'll be okay, right? And we're just going to take this, so we've got a bucket of kale, and we're just going to put a little bit of this in here in the kale. And we start to work it all together. So we just want to enjoy mixing and matching the kale and this together. And add a bit more. And then we bring our other kale over. So we have the big bucket. And we start by blending nicely and easily. Kale is just such a good feeling product. This is a tactile experience. And then I just begin adding a little bit more at a time as we go. Some of it's trying to escape. It does not want to get eaten. Okay. And now we can add a little bit more of our kale sauce to this, our coating, our special. This is like the secret sauce. Nobody else in the country has this recipe except for you guys. It's not even in Cheryl's cookbooks. Now, if you want a cookbook, I'm going to suggest you get Cooking for Life. But the kale recipe is actually taped in the front of it. So if you buy a published copy of it, it won't be there. So you still need the cookbook. The kale recipe has been top secret until today. And Cheryl said, Forrest, we need to get back in the kitchen and have some fun. So you can see that we're starting to get a nice coating on this. Not too much, but you know, it's like the 3 Bears said, not too much, not too little, just right. And you can actually do a quick taste test and go, oh my gosh, cooking in the kitchen with Forrest is a lot of fun. And now what's going to happen is I can just keep adding kale and it can keep collecting the juice from each other. Okay, so we're about 10 minutes into this. We're ready to go. And now we just come over to the dehydrator. We've had this dehydrator a long time. You could also put these on a cookie sheet and put them into the oven. I would put them on the lowest setting you've got in the oven. If you're going to do a cookie sheet, I would recommend you get a Silpat cover to go on it. They'll just sit on that nicely and it'll go in the oven. And what I would do is set the timer for about every 25 minutes, set it at 200, 225, keep an eye on these. But in the dehydrator, we just put them out, spread them out on the dehydrator sheets. Okay, and you kind of get the gist of that. And these look awesome. They're completely coated, ready to go. And the cover goes on. I set my timer for about an hour initially. I've got this on 135, 145, so it's going to be a nice slow cook. They're going to crunch up. And then about every hour, and last time I did it, it took 2.5 hours. It's going to depend on how much moisture you have on your kale. And so they come up about every hour and check, and I just pull the trays out and turn them around, make sure they're drying out nicely. And you're going to cook them till they're dry. Then you put them in a Tupperware bowl. They go up on the counter for guests, family, and friends to have. And you have just made, this batch here, I will make probably, if I were to buy this in the store, probably $30 worth of kale chips that taste way more amazing than what's in the store. And I've made them with ingredients that work for me, spices that work for me, flavoring that works for me, and flavoring that when our friends come over, they go, oh my gosh, Forrest, your kale chips are amazing. So that's Kale Chips in the Kitchen with Forrest. You guys have a blessed and amazing day, and I hope you enjoy our video.